What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good time. I think you can hear me now. We're 20. Well, I think no introduction is needed. This is Charles from Disruptor School. I just let you take it from here. He's the GOAT on paid media meta ads. So Charlie, I'll leave it from here to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be fun. I think we've done this before, so we're gonna do it again. We had a great time. Once again, Charlie here from Disruptor School, disruptorschool.com. Actually, just launched a bunch of great new stuff on Disruptor School. You can check it out. We'll plug some stuff in a little bit if we need to. Yeah, just dropped a whole bunch of SOPs and brand new, like, great stuff. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here to help solve your problems, and that's what we're here to do. You got questions, I got answers. Let's make it happen. So the way this works is pretty simple. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, and we'll bring you up in the order in which those questions are asked. And from there, we'll answer them, and you're going to get feedback. Last time we went through about a dozen or 24 folks, and it was amazing. And I'd love to do that much or more again today. It's great to see so many of you. Some of you guys I recognize, some of you I don't. But hey, that's what today is all about, right? So if you have questions, drop them in the chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you on up. I'll let you ask your question on camera, and we'll dive into the answers. Looks like it's loading on up. So without further ado, Chrissy, let me bring you on up. There we go. Awesome. Let's get you here. All right, we're going to bring you up here. Let's see if we can do 2 pins. Let's see. Do you mind, Shin, also making me somebody that can control that?
Yes.
Just so I can make sure we get her here. Because I'd love to have both her and I pinned to the screen.
All right, you're a host now, I think.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yep. I'm the host now. I don't know. I never saw that movie, but I keep making that reference. All right, cool. Well, Chrissy, great to get to meet you. How can I help?
Hey, so we're in the process of transitioning, taking our ads in-house. And one of the things that we're realizing is that the strategy that I oftentimes see in media buying is really generated towards CPG brands that are listing like benefits, really putting the product front and center, putting a lot of other proofs. And as a fashion brand, what we're kind of discovering is that catalog, like none of that is beating just straight up catalog sales. But I think that creative could do better than catalog, but I feel like it just requires a different strategy and a different approach when you're dealing with like fashion brands that are more of a lifestyle, more of a vibe than they are sure. like a greens powder. But I'm totally new to this space, so please baptize me.
No, I love it. So I've done a lot of business in the beauty I've done a lot of business in the fashion space. One of my biggest brands is Under Outfit, right? They came into the Facebook Ads MBA program in 2021. We've been partnered up since then. They're doing like 50K a month. We do 5. Last month we did like 7 million. So totally get it. Been there, done that, spent a lot of money, and had a lot of folks come through Disruptor School that are in that same space. 2 things. One, I love that you mentioned catalog ads. I 100% think that is probably going to be one of your best efforts. I'm working right now with a brand. They're in my brand accelerator program. They were on Shark Tank like 5-10 years ago. They got a deal from Barbara Corcoran. They're doing good, right? They do some stuff. And one of the core components we have, probably 75 to 80% of the money that we spend is in catalog. I've been doing a big push, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it on my either the CT, the Disruptor, or Disruptor School YouTube channels, but it's been like DPA week. I've been doing a whole bunch of DPA stuff in catalogs. So there are really 3 principles here I want to get to first. Number 1, love that you're talking about catalogs. I would love for you to launch that at 2 different audiences. Number 1, broad. So when you're setting up a catalog sales campaign, you have the option. It's on the left, it's like prospecting. And on the right, it's retargeting people. By the way, I have a whole video on the YouTube channel. It's like everything you need to know about DPA, like SEO'd out, right? So people find it. But you can check that out. And I literally like share my screen through all of this stuff we're going to talk about right here. But I'll give you a bit of a heads up. Yeah. So next with that, we want to start at the broad, and we also want to start at bottom funnel retargeting. And what that means is we want to get around 10,000 actions. What I want to do is I'll go to the events manager, and I'm going to take a look at adjusting my times, because in the events manager, it's going to show me how many actions occur. I'll adjust my calendar. Maybe it's add to cart 5-day, or view content 3-day, or 15. I want to get that count up to about 10,000 actions. That is a large enough audience for me to spend into, improve if it works, and scale a bit. But also, the reason that will work has far more to do with the audience and everything else. So if it doesn't work there, then I know that like this is not the best approach. But either way, that allows me to have something where I'm able to prospect, and really prospecting, what we call DABA, is really about, not only is it prospecting, but the way that it does so with the catalog ad is by referencing all of the consumer behavior data. So what that really means is that, say I'm looking for a pair of boots, right? Say I'm going to a wedding. I need a size 10 pair of brown boots that's around $200 made out of X, Y, and Z material. If I've been on 10, 15 pages, product pages, and added to cart view content, a couple brown boots in that style, Facebook's going to say, wow, you've been looking at all of these things. You haven't bought yet. Here's something you haven't seen. So your DABA ad might get shown to me because I'm in market for the product that you're buying. So you're prospecting, but you're really also doing more mid-funnel retargeting against your total addressable market. So it's not completely random. It's really smart. And the more built out your product listings are in the metadata, the better that targeting will be. And that becomes really, really essential. So we have that prospecting, we have that bottom funnel. The second thing I want to get to is understanding that you can use custom labels, or you can use rules to set up catalogs in your business. You don't just have to play with every card in the deck. I would recommend that you do that, but we can also supplement that with, one of the brands I'm working with right now will have stuff that was in a recent drop, or things that are about to go out of season.
Yeah, are you talking about, like, for example, curating a catalog that would be like looks under $100 to target a price of customer?
Yeah, absolutely. So looks under $100 is great. Now we don't need a separate catalog feed. We can go into our commerce manager in Facebook, and we can say, I want to set up a rule for this catalog is everything where the price point is under $100. I highly recommend that you use rules and logic to set up your, what we call product sets. I would not pick individual products, because that way, if you get a new product under $100, it's automatically entered. You don't have to redo it. You cannot edit a product set once it is created. So if you make rules, then you can adjust parameters. One of my favorite parameters is using custom labels. You have 0 through 4 on a standard feed, and you can make those things eligible or not eligible. So if it's going to be almost out of style, and it's more or less, it's going to be dead stock in 6 weeks, you can say like going out of style could be one of your product sets, quote unquote. And it's like custom label 0 equals true, means this is going out of style. This catalog is only filled with that. So now you can use the catalog in DABA, dynamic ads to broad audiences, to prospect and conquest from the total addressable market. Great. That's top of funnel efforts. That's growing the business. That's awesome. You can do that with the whole catalog if you want to. You can also retarget people with the whole catalog. But you can also have these more concerted, specific business objectives around specific product sets. Looks under $100, things about to go out of style, brand new things. And you can target that at broad, retargeting, or against your retention audience. And when you break those out into separate catalogs, they can have different CPA targets. Right? Like if it just got dropped, maybe you need that to be a lower price sale than something that's about to go out, right? Because like if you're gonna have to throw it away in 6 weeks, if you make a penny on it today, great. If you just dropped it, you probably want a 2 or 3x markup. Like you're not desperate yet, right? So the allowable price points are different. And that really allows you to use catalogs for inventory management, which is really key. And the last thing that I would recommend in that space If you can, I actually just dropped a video on it on YouTube again. This one is CAC in the background of it, but it's like how to scale new customers. I would work on passing back to Facebook that a sale was of a new customer or a returning one. And the easiest way to do this, especially if you have Shopify, is in the API on Shopify, it doesn't just say a purchase happened. One of the options is new customer. So when a new customer is created in their CRM list, and if you're not on Shopify, if it's WooCommerce, whatever, even if you just have a Google sheet of all your buyers, when a new one is added, pass that back to Facebook, and you're going to be able to understand your customer acquisition cost by what your catalogs are. And if one catalog is breaking even, another one makes you, if you get 100 sales and one of them brings you 99 new customers and one brings you only one, and the CPAs are basically the same, go for the one bringing you 99 new customers. You're really going to start to understand how that's working. So I would really focus on all of that stuff. And outside of catalogs, what I would be looking at is understanding how else does your business make money? Do you have a hero product? CPG is all about it. Fashion is very different, right? So instead, are you strong on email? Like, do you have a good brand presence? Are there other things that have value in the business? How do you make money? And one of the things that I do strong with these brands like you in fashion space is not a hero product, because like that, whatever you have that's cool in the summer ain't going to be cool in the fall. Like it's not cool if it's around forever, right? Very few things are like, Mary Jane's or Doc Martens or the Birkenback. They don't stick around forever, right? So I would also make it that if anybody ever fills out a email lead form, like a Klaviyo field or SendLane, right? Have that fire a lead event and understand the value of those leads. What is an email worth to me? If you know an email is worth $7, and in the efforts to try to promote your business and do other things, you know that you could run an ad where you're trying to just get people to sign up for an email. Instead of doing like an email lead gen form, you could just say, hey, here's all of our products, our exciting things. But if they sign up for an email and it costs me like $4, maybe I break even on that ad, maybe I don't. But if I lose 10 cents on it, but I know I got $7 for $4, then like that's excellent, right? In the process of losing a little bit of money, I actually gained a bunch of potential energy, right? Like you're winding the spring up. So pairing those two things is really strong. And then the last thing that I would look at, because I think I said 3 things, is that if you have hero products, or if you have really popular items, or if you really want to try to feature some other things, especially if you have customers that are wearing your product, right? And tagging you on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, it's totally okay to take that content, their reels, their posts, their TikToks, and you can throw those up. And one of the things that I do, and I have a video coming out on this in a little bit, but like it'll be about advantage shopping campaigns. Now, we know that these ads are going to fatigue. We know that the performance is not stable and is not terribly incremental to the business. But if we don't have to pay to get the creative because just our customers are wearing our product and tagging us in it, then we don't have to worry about the acquisition cost of new ads. If we're getting tagged constantly, well, when the ad fatigues, we have a new batch coming in all the time. And if we're measuring how incremental is this, because we're seeing how often are these new customers, or how often are we getting email addresses, then even though we're running something that normally would be bad for the business, we're actually able to measure the value of it in ways that are far above and beyond just what is the return on ad spend. Because going that route is you're gonna chase the wrong thing. And I wouldn't spend more than 10, 15% of my budget there. But I think those are the 3 pillars that you could really build something around. I'm doing that right now in a brand, and they came to us, that business I was talking about before, that Shark Tank business, they did about 350, 400K in January. We got more net new customers in the 3rd week of April than they did in the entire month of January, and we're on track to do 1 million this month. That's what we're doing with them. So that's what I would suggest we do with you, and I've done that with brands over and over again. So like, it's not like it's a copy and paste playbook, but these are the general routes to go into and things that I would start with. If you get that set up, see what breaks, take that stuff off, and then adapt. That's probably where I would start.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Super fun. Fantastic question, Chrissy. Thank you. Oh, that teed me right up on that one. I was like, I'm winning with that right now. Love it. All right. Thomas, let's bring you on up. Asking about ASC campaigns. Apropos. All right. How you doing, buddy? How can I help?
Good, good. Big fan. I'm in awe just seeing you here. But into my question, AC plus campaigns, how many ads should we have running at any given time for subscription business with one hero product, 2 variations?
Gotcha. So really the answer to this question is twofold. First off, I don't know in an ASC campaign that there's a potential for too many ads. I think your max at basic like 50. You also have to understand though, when you're using advantage shopping campaigns, you are specifically focusing your ads onto people, not because they're interested in your content, but because Facebook thinks they might be interested in what you're selling. That's great for a performance marketer. The problem is, it also basically means you're directly opposed to Facebook's business model. Like Facebook is trying to keep people on the platform for as long as possible and keep them happy. Facebook's business model is the retention of attention for profit. The average person swipes the height of the Eiffel Tower on a daily basis. When you are forcing your content onto somebody because you want them to buy, not earning their attention because you have content they want to see, your ads will fatigue. Like ad fatigue in general is completely avoidable. But like this is something that creates ad fatigue. And also because you're targeting folks who are in the buying behavior and because they're aware of your brand, if you have any other marketing channel, like somebody bought from you before and can speak to anybody else in the world, you're also far less incremental than maybe a lowest cost at broad. So you have to understand that these ads are going to fatigue. They're going to raise your CPMs across your entire account. And the results are going to be far less stable and less incremental. That being said, there is a place for them. I'm not saying you should never use them. I mean, I just gave advice to Chrissy on like how I would use them. Like I do use them, but I would never make it more than 10 or 15% of my budget because I want that depreciation to be accounted for in the success I'm having everywhere else. Does that make sense? Like and also like there are people that are crushing, but generally the biggest accounts that I know that are super successful in advantage shopping don't need Facebook to be the source of the primary source of attention. For instance, Obvi, really popular, right? I don't know if you know Obvi, but it's the collagen business. Really popular. They're in cost caps, advantage shopping. Ashwin is a really popular guy. They're really great at it. They're also in Walmart. You look at Jones Road Beauty. They're really big into the ASC stuff, or used to be, and they're really big into cost caps and stuff, or they were. But also, his mom is like the Michael Jordan of makeup. So, like quite literally, it's like Michael Jordan taking you out to show you how to throw free throws. Like her name is Bobby Brown. She is world famous for decades. She had a non-compete with the world's largest makeup company for 20 years. And when she finally had the non-compete close, she opened up her own brand called Jones Road, and she's crushing with it. But again, it's like, it's when the big players bring out how they do things, it works. Like Hexclad works because it's Gordon Ramsay selling you his cookware, right? That's very successful. So my point to that is, I don't think there's a max number. What I will say is that understand, no matter how many you put in there, that they are going to be less stable. They're probably going to be more efficient in the dashboard, but they might not be as incremental. So maybe my results are 20% better, but 30% of those sales are ones that also are getting attributed to 3 other channels. So we have to be really mindful of that. Now, all that to be said, basically what you're doing is you're just loading up the lottery to see whatever hits. And if it works, great. Generally, it'll work for a couple of days or a week or two, and then it dies, and you just have a queue of a million things that can go out. I don't have a problem with loading it up. It's something that I do often with brands. We're just talking about was let's take all the UGC content, all the found creative. If I'm tagged on anything, I could load that up. And if I've got 1,000, if I've been tagged 500 times on Instagram over the last 3 years, I've got enough content in ASC that I could basically have 10 things fatigue every week. And I've got a year's worth of content without ever having to spend a penny. Like you can totally do that. So I know the question was, how many ads do you have in there max? My point, the answer is, I don't think there's a max amount. I think you should leverage as much as you can and learn what works and what doesn't. But also know that if you have 5 ads in there that all look the same, the reason one is good or one is bad is basically whoever got served. Also, if you have one that works and you're saying this ad works, let me throw in 5 more like it, you're almost guaranteeing that the one that works will stop, because the other ones will basically steal from it. You're not bringing incremental results.
Right.
So all that to be said, I don't think there's a hard limit. I would just be mindful of how much I'm leveraging this. Now, if I'm getting my traffic and attention and data and sales from other channels, you could be doing a ton. But, you know, not everybody's in a space where your mom's an international celebrity or you're in Walmart and you can just spend 100% of your budget on what's effectively Amazon or Google Shopping in the Facebook space. So go nuts, just don't spend too much on it.
Got it.
That's my honest opinion. Yeah,
Makes sense.
it's not a
Thank you.
direct answer, but hopefully it's a very complete one.
Yes, it makes sense. Thank you, Charlie.
No problem. No problem. Good question. Love the question. All right. I'm gonna screw this up. Mr. Fernandez, this is all I'm gonna do. You're gonna have to tell me how to say your name.
Joao.
Joao.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed. White kid from the suburbs in America. Ignorant. Very
You're
much.
good.
All right,
It's a
Joao.
difficult name.
How can I help, man?
Yeah, so okay, so we work at the agency and we basically do everything that you just advised against Ford.
Sure.
So our clients are not like the typical e-commerce client, are like a VSL, long form VSL on page, almost like info television, like infomercial. And then the ads like drive the clicks to the page to go to that page and watch the infomercial, and then you see the product, you buy it, yada yada yada. So that is just to give context. Right now we are spending about like 5-6 million a month in net spend. And my question is, all of our assets are video assets, and from an account we produce from 20 to 35 video assets per week, every single week. And so there's always a lot of testing. My question is, what is your setup for testing those assets, knowing it's just like video assets and everything is based on sales and ROAS with like less click attribution?
Gotcha. So what I love about this question is your definition of success as the media buyer is not tied to the success and failure of the client's business. That's a very important thing. You're being measured on ROAS. You're being measured on last click attribution. You're not being measured on profit volume of the business. So the answer to your question is focused around how do we make sure that the ad account looks good. Now, hopefully when we do that, the business is also run well and like we can be successful. And to be fair, basically that means that the success and failure of the agency with the relationship with the client is, does the brand that is your client, do they operate a good business? If their business is successful, you're going to be around forever. If their business sucks, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. But with all of that being said, there are 2 big things that jumped out to me above that. I just want to set that because oftentimes we don't know really what our job is. And really your job is to make the person that writes you a check look good to their boss. That's your job, right?
Not really. So we partnership with our clients on like a very deep level. We have access to like all their P&Ls.
Sure.
And again, this is not like the traditional e-commerce model. So there's not a long LTV like most e-commerce businesses. Like most of the profit is being generated on like day 0.
Sure.
Because we get like AOVs of like 200, 300, something along those lines.
Sure.
So
But are you
we
the
have,
only marketing channel?
many times, yeah.
So there's no Google, there's no TikTok, there's no emails, there's
There
no
is
organic
Google, but
social.
there is Google, but it's also us.
Okay. So you're competing against yourself, but you're delivering a result as a net collective then? It's like, how does the entire agency in aggregate deliver? That's basically it then?
Yeah, so we have like a target ROAS, let's say it's 2x, and that
Sure.
target ROAS, the client is profitable of like on front
Yeah,
end.
but
and
what I'm
so
saying
we
is
just want to scale
that
as much as possible.
that 2x is Google and Facebook combined.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha,
Sure.
gotcha. Okay. All right. So getting back to your question about testing creatives, because I think that's really the point here. Because we have to know all of that stuff because we have to know what we're actually trying to do. So what it sounds like to me is you have a system where you control both Facebook and Google. And what you're really trying to do is maintain an efficiency while scaling up budget and basically just keeping it consistent to add more and more and more to it. And as long as you get a certain bottom line profitability, everybody's happy. You're just stacking volume at that bottom line profitability number. Okay. So there are three things that what you talked about immediately come across the top of mind for me. Number one, I think you have way too many creatives. More creatives is a bad thing, not a good thing. Let me tell you why. If you know how to attract the attention of a customer that is good for your business, when you launch 50 new ads, what you're doing is saying, I have a funnel that works. Facebook ads, search ads, website that's functioning. What I'm going to do is spend a lot of time and effort making sure that that does not comprise the vast majority of my money. So you have to solve the problem. You're basically recreating the wheel over and over and over and over and over again. Instead of saying, I have a type of customer that works or 3 to 5 types of customers that work, let me go find 1,000 of them. So part of one of the issues you're probably facing around like instability or ad fatigue and like struggling to scale while maintaining efficiency is that as you make more and more new ads, those new ads are stealing delivery from the old ads that you have, which creates ad fatigue with the old ads. And if you're trying to improve the conversion funnel efficiency, but every day you're also, or every week, you're also completely changing the type of people that come into the store, that makes it very difficult. Like, say we have a real store and we're trying as the owner to change the layout of the store to maximize profitability and let our salespeople know really how to get the sale. But every week we launch completely new billboards and change everything that happens before you walk in. It makes it almost impossible for the salesperson to be good when every single day somebody completely different that has a different financial aspect or features and benefits or reason that they're clicking. They might all be tangentially related, but instead of letting some employees get really good, you're basically saying which employees are solid, and then any employee that doesn't work, you're just kind of getting rid of them. Like, it's a system that sets up for ad fatigue. And that ad fatigue also makes the search efforts far more difficult because the things that people are typing into search change because the Facebook ads are different. So if the Facebook ads say different things and target different people and condition individuals to think different ways, then your search is also chasing Facebook, which is a really unstable situation. Now, that all to be said, the way I would test a lot of these things, I test everything in dynamic creatives. I generally do what I call a 3-2-2. So it's 3 creatives, 2 headlines, 2 primary text. If you set up a 3-2-2 ad properly, that ad, instead of fatiguing, will get smarter over time. That ad will scale in efficiency. And if it gets more and more efficient, you can add more and more budget to it. And the reason that happens is instead of launching 12 ads, which are all basically 12 individual salespeople, you launch them into a neighborhood, and whoever, when they're knocking on doors, and if it's the 5th person today trying to sell me Girl Scout cookies, I'm like, fine, if I buy them, will you leave me alone? And I buy them. It doesn't mean that salesperson, that little, Girl Scout is the good salesperson. It's just whoever was lucky enough when I'm doing it. Now, the problem is in a dynamic creative, all of those ads, and if you make 3 creatives, 2 primary text, 2 headline, that creates 12 permutations. But they all focus back to one single data set. because it's one post. And the way that Facebook works is every post is a web page. Every web page on Facebook's website, Facebook is looking at the click-through rate, the bounce rate, the stickiness, the conversion rate, how often people engage with it, stuff like that. If you have one landing page, Facebook's going to get a lot of data around how that works. In a dynamic creative, that landing page has dynamic elements. The video changes or the image changes, the text changes to try to make the best user experience for a Facebook user. If instead you launch 12 ads or 15 or 20 ads, you're now having 12 or 20 individual things that get substantially less data. And Facebook is a machine learning algorithm. So we have to think about, what are we teaching it? And if we're only teaching it that if you don't get lucky early, you die. And if you're good, we're going to try to make other things that look exactly like you to steal from you. You're setting up a situation that works tremendously well for email, tremendously well for display advertising, but works against the way an optimized CPM environment functions. The way that I would do this is I would have one ad set of my winning ads. I would run a 4PI analysis, spend, frequency, CPM, and efficiency to understand where do they fit in the funnel. The ads that get a ton of spend should have a low frequency, meaning the daily frequency. I don't care if frequency over like 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, none of that matters. It's just each day. If my ad is getting a ton of spend and my frequency is below a 1.1, I would expect also that CPM to be probably the lowest in the ad account, or at least in that ad set, and the efficiency might not be the best. So it might be something where my average cost is a little bit higher than the rest. That's totally fine, because I'm also going to have other ads that don't get as much spend, but the frequency might be a 1.3, 1.5, and the CPM might be 50% higher, and the cost per purchase is exponentially better. How many times do you look at your Facebook ad account and you say, Facebook is dumb. The ad that is doing the best never gets spent. When you run a 4PI analysis, you realize that that ad, in the way that Facebook is using it, is a mid to bottom funnel ad inside of the funnel that your ads create within the platform. The reason that this is important is once you know how all of those things work, then you can build dynamic creative tests, leveraging 322 to specifically see which one isn't doing a good job. Is my retargeting ad just not working well? Maybe it's not getting a lot of spend and the CPM is climbing, the frequency is going up, but also the cost per purchase is terrible. Now I know all I have to do is launch 1 or 2 dynamic creative tests with the 322 specifically to make a better version of that ad. Instead of trying to take my best asset and make 1,000 versions of it, instead of changing my strongest piece and making it smart and making it dumber and weaker, I'm going to take my weakest thing and I'm going to try to make it stronger. The chain is only the strongest, weakest link. Let's take the weakest space and make it better. This makes all of the ads far more consistent, a lot smarter. Performance is far more stable and scalable and projectable. And what it also means is if you're only changing a little bit at a time, your search results and the words that you're bidding on and how they behave is going to be far more consistent and projectable and scalable. And the landing page is going to be far more knowable, right? If you change your Facebook ad, the landing page conversion rate's also going to change, because if you've been building your landing page to completely convert off the top 5 ads you have, and then you launch 50 new ones, and those ads are all targeting different pockets of the audience or people that care about different things. Well, now your landing page and your search ads weren't built to help convert that person. So that creates a serious conversion rate issue. And when you have a bunch of performance marketers all being pegged at basically what you do for me today, you don't have a cohesive team that's built around stability and growth. So the way that I would test these is, number one, run a 4PI analysis. I got a video on my channel about that. You can check it out. 4PI, take a look at it. Spend, frequency, CPM, and efficiency. Understand, what am I doing well? What am I not doing well? How is the system in a CBO, broad targeting, lowest cost, using my assets? Where do I have an opportunity to improve? What is the thing there that is broken? Let me just fix what's actually broken instead of breaking what works. And at that rate, your creative tests could run for weeks or months. Dynamic creative tests only ever get smarter because that data is all being collected in one data point, right? It's one web page instead of dozens. So that one, every time it gets impressions, good or bad, gets smarter. So I've set up situations where like I've got a control ad set and maybe 2 dynamic creative tests, and I literally don't touch it for like a month. And all that happens is it gets smarter and I push the budget. Get smarter, keep pushing the budget. And all we're doing is working on conversion rate optimization, and the automating the budgets on Facebook, and the search campaigns and email just print more money. So the way I would set it up is dynamic creatives, 3-2-2 ads, lean into the machine learning algorithm to understand how do I make my weakest link stronger in a way that improves my relationship with my business partner, Facebook, so that I can get premium inventory at a lower cost. And this is the last point to make. When you open up your phone, the ad that's like the 3rd post on Instagram is exceptionally cheaper to show somebody than the one that's 15 minutes into a doom scroll. Because Facebook wants to show that content to people, because people want to see it. If you are constantly making new ads, your ads are getting shown in non-premium inventory. You're getting below the fold placement at a higher cost. And Facebook's only going to show you the ad after everybody else competing for that person, after all those ads were declined. Because Facebook's like, well, I know this person's in market for a brown sneaker, brown, boot for a wedding, size 10, leather, all of this other stuff. Well, they said no to 17 other people. Here's an ad people don't really like, but they haven't said no to this one yet. So now you're sitting at the end of the line, below the fold, and paying extra, versus saying, here's my ads, go find more and more people that are like this. If you already have ads that work, you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. You just need to make your weakest link stronger. And with that, quite legitimately, like, I'm working with a jewelry business right now. We haven't launched a new ad since the end of, outside of like Mother's Day, we haven't launched a new ad since the end of March. And that brand was projected to do 300,000 in spend this month, and we're like gonna probably do closer to 500. And their CAC target was 32, and we're coming in at a 27. Like, not changing things makes the machine learning algorithm the priority instead of the marketer. And the honest truth is, the machine's a lot smarter than any of us will ever be. So let's lean into empowering it to make all the choices for us. You've done a good job if the best thing you can do this week is just update your reporting dashboard and pat yourself on the back and go enjoy the rest of your life.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I know that was sort of a sitting on a soapbox moment there, but like, I'll say this. I've run ads like that before. I've definitely been there. Like 2015, 16, 17, that was absolutely the way to go, because Facebook wasn't any smarter. Facebook was trying to be Google Display. The implementation of advanced matching and broad targeting, basically that style went out. The reason it's really popular, especially amongst performance marketers, is because you can get good results today. The problem is you're always focusing on, can you maintain that high instead of removing the volatility. So the best you could do today is worse than the worst day you would have 3 months from now. You're not building for long term. And people have different objectives. And that's why I wanted to understand what your business objective was early on. Because if you have a great relationship, build for long term. If you don't have a good relationship, then honestly, you just need the best performance you can today and do anything you can to make the dashboard look good, which is basically the style you have set up. But you're integrated, you're good, you're part of the team. Build for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year from now, being better than your best day could possibly be tomorrow. And you'll never get fired. So that's the only reason I say it. And that's why I asked that question right at the beginning, because it framed the answer. Without that information, I would just be like on a soapbox preaching without any context to like whether or not it helps you. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. All right. Matt Walker. Here we go. Hey, buddy. If you're around, I'll give you a second, see what we can do. Oh, there we go. Hey, Matt Walker. How can I help?
Hey, how's it going? First of all, really appreciate the time and the energy you're bringing on a Friday afternoon.
I got some espresso. It helps.
Good. So I'm actually going to pivot a bit on my question based off of what you were talking about with Tommy. The way that we have everything set up right now is just focusing on ASC, dumping everything into that It's a bootstrap company. We've been working on it kind of on a part-time basis, doing about 30,000 a month in spend. And so we were under the impression, throw things in ASC, the algorithms will figure it out. But then you were saying 15% should be in ASC. So what would you do with that other 85%? How would you approach that? And the other piece of context, we really just have one hero product, CPG.
Gotcha. Awesome. So two things there. One, this kind of goes to the definition of success. If you are bootstrapped and you need every day to work and you can't plan for the future, especially if you don't have future cash flow, like if people don't ever buy your product more than once, then ASC can be a helpful way of being like, I have a couple $100 a day. I just need to do C+ work and keep the lights on. That's what it was built for. It takes, it gives anybody in the world C+ level effort, leveraging things that people have been really leaning into lately. Organic content that gets people's attention. If you get content that people care about, you can force it in their feed because they might want to buy from you. And that's what ASC is. It's really good, but if you're an A+ marketer, it gives you a C+. If you're an F- marketer, it gives you a C+. It does that job. It's not necessarily the wrong thing. It does have a purpose. And Facebook has been able to massively increase the amount of people advertising with success because, like, if you don't know what you're doing, just do that and you'll get better results than anything else. So not saying what you're doing is a bad thing. It has a place, and I'm happy that you've at least been able to get to that point. If you're spending 25,000, 50,000 a month, like, you're doing something right? So keep it up. What I would recommend, start to focus on something, you know, one of the things that people know me for a lot is called the one campaign strategy, which is like, let's start to build control assets. If we have ads that we know work, can we remove them from the ASC? Can we take some of those ads that are working and put them in a lowest cost, broad targeting campaign at a CBO? I want one ad set that's got all my best ads in it. Maybe 5. I would probably get it down to 5, but if you start with, like, 4, 10, whatever it is, like, get it started. We're going to set up the scientific method in a machine learning algorithm, right? Like, let's use science and the world's smartest AI machine to our advantage instead of fighting it. So we can still run these things, but we can make a transition. I would not turn everything off. Let's transition away. It's not going to be better on day one. It might take a week or a month. I don't know, depending on the amount of data you got in volume. It's data, it compounds over time, but a penny a day is less than $10 a day, right? But you will get to $1 million in a month, even at a penny a day, whatever that they double it every day and it gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but just like expectation setting. Take the ads that work. Put them in that broad targeting campaign in a single ad set. Alongside of that, once you're running that, we can do that thing we called the 4PI analysis, right? Look at the spend, the frequency, the CPM, and the efficiency. Golden rule. Low CPM, low frequency, I'm expecting a low efficiency, meaning my CPA is probably higher. And it'll probably earn more spend. It's a top of funnel ad. If I have high frequency, meaning Facebook is forcing this out onto people more and more and more, my frequency each day might be a 1.3, 1.5. And my CPM is, say my low frequency ad is a CPM of 20, my high frequency one might be 35. But my cost per purchase might be 20%, 30%, 40% cheaper. And you're going to sit there and bang your head against the wall, like, why isn't Facebook spending on this thing? And it's because it's a mid-bottom funnel ad. There's not a larger funnel. The reason all of those ads in that campaign working together function is because somebody's setting it up and somebody else is coming in and closing the deal. Cool, you have a team. I would run that and begin to kind of chip away at the ads that are not doing their job well, right? Like, this thing's got a, the hot top funnel ad is also just not efficient enough. We need it at a 35. It's coming in at 135. Like, you're never going to polish that turd enough to get gold out of it. Like, just let it be. But if there are things that are good, we can whittle that down. Then we're going to know where our weak links are. That's where we get into the 3-2-2 campaigns, right? The 3-2-2 dynamic creative ad sets. And we can specifically say, do we need something that's more mid-funnel? maybe our mid funnel is great, but our top of funnel stuff, the stuff earning all the spend with a super low frequency and a low CPM just isn't efficient enough. Like maybe we're just too good at getting attention that isn't as qualified as we need it. And to be fair, if you're a smaller company, you don't really need to be worried about prospecting terribly much. Like we all exist in a large total addressable market, right? Like people have this fallacy that the customer journey is like 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. It's like decades long. The reason you buy is very different than the reason who clicks on that ad right after you and buys the same thing. The life journey that got you to that point is fundamentally different. And this is shown over and over again. I used to be the guy that ran all of New Balance's ads when they were trying to get younger, right? Like when they went from mall walkers to like mid 30s, happened to be there at that time at the ad agency doing that work. And what we found is the very beginning of advanced matching, even at broad targeting, when it was like the first impression, over 2/3 of our ad spend went to somebody that had abandoned cart in the last 7 days to one of our top 5 competitors. Facebook's just like, hey, look, you want to see this content. Like Facebook is trying to do a solid to their users. And what this really means is like, what are you doing well and what are you not doing well? And often brands that are smaller really focus on those top of funnel ads. Why the ad that's getting all the spend? It's got like the best hook rate and it's got the best view through and all of these great vanity metrics of earning attention. The problem is that doesn't actually mean you're earning the attention of somebody that wants to buy. So great creative often is a net negative to the brand because you're just polluting the data set. I don't need 1,000 people to walk in my store. I need 20 people today to buy something. So if you can understand how to get lower down in the funnel, make not as good creative that only speaks to the folks that are interested in buying, how can you get further down that customer journey? That's a great solution. So I'd really be focusing on understanding that 4PI analysis, knowing what my biggest need is, and then setting up like a pair of dynamic creatives. And the reason I use 2 of the 3-2-2 ads is because I don't want to know, does this ad work? I want to know which ad works better. So back in the day, I was a touring musician. Like I was in punk bands and all sorts of other stuff. And if you had one t-shirt, the question is, do you want to buy a shirt? The question should be, which shirt do you want to buy? If you only have one ad, it's a binary success or failure. If you have multiple, you can learn, even from your losses, which ones did better than the other. If they both lose, awesome. I now know a lot of data around what not to do. And to be fair, learning from failures is way more valuable than learning from a win. Like if I get a win, great. I'm just going to go find the next failure and try to not fail at it. Like once you get a win, don't repeat them over and over again, because all you're doing is basically devaluing the win. So I would set that up alongside what you're currently doing. It might take a week, it might take a month, but over time, it's going to get better and better. And eventually, it's going to be able to kind of compete where its good days are better than the worst days of the other one. And eventually you're going to be able to feel more comfortable pushing some budget over. And what's going to happen, sort of like Baby Huey's, doesn't start gobbling up more and more and more. And it's going to grow. And ultimately that ASC is going to find where it sits. And it might be 10%, might be 25%, who knows? Generally optimal setups around like the 10 to 20% mark, which is why I said 15% before. More than that, you kind of get too much ad fatigue, and while Facebook looks good, your bank account doesn't. Less than that, and well, you're probably under leveraging a tool that you could be using to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about that is, once you find these ads in the broad with the lowest cost and in the broad targeting, by the way, broad is age, gender, location. It's no interest groups, no lookalikes. You can't have a broad lookalike. That's a contradiction in terms. Because once you get ads working there, every data set that you get makes the confidence bubble. Basically, like if I get one sale, I know maybe there's 3 people in the room I can talk to. If I get 3 sales, maybe there's 10 people in the room I can talk to. That circle expands and expands and expands. So when that happens, the allowable budget goes up and the low-hanging fruit grows in volume. When that happens, you can add more budget and your results don't jump off a cliff. If you're using ASC, which creates ad fatigue, you're just stealing, it's all one-to-one, but you're not learning anything. So it's just who has the credit card out? Do you want to buy this? No. Do you want to buy this? No. Do you want to buy this? Yes. Great. I'm a winner. And it's more based off of random distribution. It's not totally random, but for the purpose of this conversation, it's not a learned behavior. It's far less scientific, far more leveraging intent, which is fine. But it's a game that somebody with more money than you is going to win.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of brands out there that don't need Facebook ads to fill their funnel. And you know, what's the old lesson from Art of War? Like, don't fight battles you're going to lose, right? So that's where I would probably set up with all of this stuff. And it might take a while.
Yeah.
But eventually the win is going to be this campaign that you don't touch more than an hour or two a week max, maybe, just to update some numbers and see, do I need to do anything?
Yeah.
But it is not uncommon for those setups to work for weeks or months without really any interference from us, because we can spend the rest of our time saying, well, I'm allowed to have a 32. Okay, let's fix the rest of the business. Let's fix the conversion rate. Let's fix the search. Let's fix the second purchase rate. Let's make the allowable CPA more instead of trying to hack the CPA down in an unsustainable way.
Mm-hmm. And to get down, first of all, thank you. And to get down to the like 5 ads that you're talking about right now, one of the reasons we are using ASC is because we could throw in 20 different things and, you know, have it theoretically start to test them. Although we do see that there's a long tail and it's only giving money to like a couple things. But let's say we have 20 ads that we're considering. Is there a good way to funnel that down to 5 that we would be putting into these 322s?
I think I'd be looking at what did well for me. And really these ads aren't the ones going into 322s. These are the ones that are going to that control ad set. And then you can also learn from the ASCs, which one had a high frequency, which one earned spend. Like looking at that, if I need a prospecting ad, what did that job? What ads in the ASC did I turn off because they weren't efficient enough? But when looking back at them, they were all just too high funnel.
Mm-hmm.
If I can start to compile those things together in a scientific way of saying, here are 3 treatments on a creative with some headlines and some copy that where all the combinations make sense. Now I'm giving Facebook basically like a split test, like a VWO JavaScript test landing page where most things are same. It's completely congruent, but I'm letting Facebook basically run VWO on their own website for free for me to give the end user the best experience so I get premium inventory. So when you have a whole bunch of assets, that's fine. But only a certain amount of them are going to actually do the job that you need them to do. And once you set it up and understand where your weakness is, you're going to be able to go back to the other ones and see, well, what did those jobs well? And that's a great starting point to get to that solution that we're trying to find of what should go in to those new dynamic creatives.
Awesome. Got some work ahead.
Hey, look, you got some work ahead, but the outcome of it will be far less work every day. And you just automate your accounts, you automate the budgets, you spend the most of your time in the things that actually make money, like setting up future transactions, get future cash flow. Like if you get 20% more people to buy a second time, your allowable CPA on Facebook goes through the fucking roof. Just improve the business model, make Facebook stable. And the beautiful thing is you don't change out your ads all the time. When you do make that lift in second purchase rate, it's going to be sticky because you're not attracting a completely different type of person to the company, which ruins all of your CRO and customer journey efforts.
Yeah.
One of the reasons people are stuck on needing to be first order profitable is because they're not actually setting themselves up with a consistent user flow that is uniform, so they can't do anything to fix the business. And to be fair, when you're running Facebook ads, all you're doing is amplifying the business model. If your business model is shit, it's going to be tough to win.
Yeah.
So work on the business model and winning is easy. Yeah, there you go.
Much love. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Let's see here. I think we got Thomas again, and then we're gonna get to some new folks. All right. Is it Thomas again?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I mean,
It is. Here we go. Okay, cool. I didn't know if it was the second Thomas. All right, Thomas, how can I help?
do you subscribe to the theory or notion that you could reach a different audience just by duplicating an existing campaign? And
Sure.
Again.
You could. I'd also subscribe to the notion that that is by no means a good thing. If I have a business that works, the last thing I want is to invest in attracting the attention of the people that I have no idea how to monetize. Like that, if I know I go walk in a room of 100 people, I know the 10 people I can get sales to. Awesome. I just need to find those 10 people. And then if I walk in a room of 10,000 people, I just need to find more people that look like that. If you now throw me out in the wilderness and say, oh, by the way, those 10 people are gone, go make more sales, I'm going to be dead. Like I can't possibly do my job. So yes, you can. Also, not a good thing. The easiest way to have your ads reach more people is to let them see more data. And then when they see more data, the data set that they can use to reach more people with confidence for consistent results grows. And when folks say, well, I need to reach more people, I need to scale my business X, Y, and Z, my number one pain point that I want to reach back to people is say, why? Is every other channel efficient? Like, are you as good at search or shopping or Amazon as you could be? How good is your email really? What if you improve your conversion rate by 10%? And by 10%, I mean going from 2 to a 2.2, not from 2 to a 12, but like, what if you worked on everything that happens afterwards?
I guess my question is like, if a campaign is doing really bad,
Sure.
does it make sense to duplicate it to see if I can hit a different audience? Is that even a
No, I mean, if your ads can't attract the attention of an audience that you can monetize, the fix isn't to then drop that into another spot where the data it did have isn't really being leveraged well. Like,
right?
I would be far more focused on taking known wins and pushing those. And if things stop working, understand what broke and then fix it. Yeah, otherwise, let's say that is a win. Let's say that is the way. Then the logical conclusion of that at scale is you basically duplicate to 100 campaigns a day,
Right.
which is fucking ridiculous. So like, let's keep the end in mind. One of these lets you touch your ad account once a week. The other one means you're not allowed to leave your keyboard ever. And if you do, your business fails.
Right.
A good manager has a team that does better when they're not around. It is the ads manager, after all. Set the factory up to not need you, or you'll never be as successful, even close as you could be, because it's just unsustainable. You're a person. Like, it's a machine. Leverage it, or be beholden to market forces that are completely out of your control.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Good question. Good question. Right? Like, these are the things that are valuable. I love it. All right, Michael, let's get to you. Boom. Boom.
Hey, Charlie.
Hello.
Really nice to meet you, man. Can you hear me?
I can. How can I help?
I love the terrible towel behind you. My wife's from Pittsburgh. Huge fan. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
There is a sugar skull up here too, but yeah.
Amazing, man. So look, this is brand new to my co-founder and I. We launch in about 7 weeks. We're going to be essentially an e-commerce brand focused on performance in the gym. So gym accessories that are novel in a manner. And so I guess the question to you would be, what's your suggestion for ramping up on Facebook ads and beginning to understand your target market and how to access that? And so we're going to be using Facebook ads for the very first time ever. And we're launching on Facebook to try to essentially gain our first sale. So I know it's a very naive question, but I'm hoping you could shed some light on it.
No, it's a great question and one I get a lot. And I'll give you the same feedback I give other people, which might be fun. It might be constructive. Get your organic together first. I would heavily caution you to against, or just put the idea out there. Facebook's going to amplify your business model. if you don't know how to make money, you're going to amplify the rate at which you lose money. I would love to encourage you to figure out how to earn attention and monetize it, and then take that profit and invest it in the growth of the money-making device you've built. Otherwise, have a runway. Have a very clear, defined, and long-term, like, we can spend $50,000 over the next 6 months. Now I know how much I can spend every day. And my job is to not run out of money at the end of 6 months. But if you don't know how to earn attention, running ads means that you're gonna be putting things out into the market that people don't care about. And if you're trying to say, hey, I have a message you don't care about, please give me money, it's going to be tough. So I would highly recommend figuring out organic sales volume and then investing that revenue in the growth of your business. I'd say probably 30% of the brands that I see fail on Facebook, and why people say it's broken, is because they couldn't make money any other way. And it's like when you go on Shark Tank and you say, I've got everything in line, all I need is your money and expertise. And they say is, well, go kick rocks. Like, the purpose of Facebook is to pour gas on a fire. If you don't have a fire, it's going to be useless. All you did is waste money buying the gas. So that's my number one point, because if you understand how to make money organically, then you're going to have a lot of answers to your questions. How do I get attention? Well, this is the content that works. What is the type of customer I should be talking to? Oh, these are the people that buy from us. And you can do that market research for free. You know, there's nothing to say you can't go be a customer of your competitors. There's nothing to say you can't reach out to folks and interview 5, 10, 100 people. Like, what would you like? Right? Like, understand. And one of the things that I've done for brands is like, go interview like 100, 200 people. And it takes a while, right? But like, it saves money. Like, go interview a couple hundred people and be like, what do you like? What would you be willing to pay? X, Y, and Z. When you make your product, you go to those people and be like, hey, I did it. If you interview 200 people, maybe make 50 sales. 50 sales of a product that's a cup, 20, 30, 50, $100 gives you a nice little piggy bank to start figuring out how to use their cash flow as your seed to growing your business. But you're going to do it with a shit ton of feedback that didn't cost you a ton of money in the Facebook platform, and instead built you money with revenue because you earned somebody's cash. And the number one customer feedback you can get is somebody giving you their credit card. Otherwise, we're just kind of, being polite. So that'd be my best advice. And even when I built the Facebook Ads MBA program and Disruptor School, I quite legitimately went to every one of my, consulting clients and all the brands that I work with. It's like, what do you need? What would you like? And, MBA program went from 150K the first year to 1.7 million in like a year and a half, because I asked the market what they wanted. And I was like, okay, how do I deliver that at scale? Figured some things out. And, over the years, I've had hundreds of people go through my program and nobody's ever asked for their money back, which is like the greatest sign of like meeting that market need that I could possibly give. And it's basically just all the lessons I learned from CPG brands and like healthcare companies and like SaaS companies and insurance brands and lead generation. Like, ask people what they want, build it, and then sell it to them. And if you make that work, use some of that profit to go find more people that look like those that already bought from you. That's my unfortunate, but hopefully also helpful news, like, and feedback.
Yeah, very helpful. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate your time, my man.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. Very important question, and I'm glad somebody asked it. Fernando, let's bring you on up. Boom.
Hello, Charlie. Can you hear me?
I can, Fernando. How are you doing today? How can I help?
Great, and you? Thank you
I'm
so
doing
much.
pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Amazing. So what should I do with spending Meta, especially during sales season? Because I'm a very small brand, and during sales season, costs skyrocket. and CPAs go like really, really high.
Sure. If you can't compete, don't play. What I mean by that is one of the most profitable strategies for Black Friday, for instance, is to not spend money on ads. Nobody said you had to. If you spend all of your time building up a community, getting email lists, making some sales, but getting customers that buy from you more than once, figure out how to do more of that. And when costs skyrocket, and we're going to see costs skyrocket really soon, by the way, like we're probably about 30 to 40 days away from like Facebook basically breaking, quote unquote, for a lot of people. Set it up so that you don't need it. And during that time, you can leverage everything else. Spending more on Facebook won't solve a problem of my email and search isn't good enough and people don't want to buy from me a second time. Fix those things. And then when Facebook becomes not profitable to spend on, you just stop spending on it. And yeah, you'll make less money during that time, but you also don't lose the money. And if you're in a spot of, I now know when those times are going to happen, and I can set myself up to acquire customers who are likely to buy from me more than once. And during those times when Facebook is really expensive, I can send out emails and run search campaigns and Amazon or whatever else I have going on. Then while everybody else is paying an arm and a leg to compete with people who have a daily budget that like literally legitimately don't care about, like I've spent $1 million a day where revenue wasn't even a goal. We had no revenue targets at $1 million a day. It was earn market share. I think people don't realize what level of like folks out there can just drop enough money to completely tank everything that you're doing. And there's nothing you can do about it. So when that's happening, set yourself up to not be impacted negatively by it. That's my best advice. If you know you're going to lose, don't play the game. Wait until it comes back to you and then get back in.
Wow,
Does that make
that's
sense?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of
Awesome.
sense. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, hold on a second here. I got a somebody coming by the house. I think like somebody's replacing a TV or something. Give me 1 second and we'll keep going. Boom. Okay. Next question. All right, we have Sebastian raised your hand, so let me get to that next. Oh,
Yes.
oh, here we go.
How's it going?
Boom. Okay. Hey, Sebastian, how can I help?
Good. It's awesome to be talking to you. I've been following your stuff for a super long time. And yeah, it's cool to be talking to you live. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy to help. Let's do it.
Cool. So what I was hoping to get into today was blended CPA. So
Sure.
I'm very familiar with 4PI and I've gone through your videos on that. And it all makes sense. I think what I still struggle to understand though is a couple of things. So as it relates to blended CPA. So the first one is I understand why you use blended CPA as a primary metric. I know you've talked about the reality of e-commerce, unlike subscription or like Alex Hormozi gym businesses, is that those models are very different. In e-commerce, we are constantly reacquiring customers, and so it is not like out of this world to spend money to reacquire a customer again. I get that. But I think the thing that still doesn't make sense to me is isn't it still significant? Like, even if though that's the case, and we're going to pay no matter what to reacquire customers, isn't it still significantly cheaper to acquire them via email? And therefore, should we not prioritize only reacquiring customers through email so that we spend as little as possible on those returning customers and not push up the cost per customer blended? If that does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. Short answer is this. Yeah, it's significantly cheaper. Long answer, a little more winded, is the purpose of running ads is to create opportunity and demand. Email is not scalable because you can't just generate new emails.
Mm.
The way a business works at its core is you take attention and you monetize it in a way that creates positive cash flow. The way really successful businesses work is that cash flow is repeating and at a volume that is projectable.
Mm.
The purpose of running ads is to amplify the attention that you then monetize, that you turn into transactions that creates future cash flow. Email is infinitely cheaper. It's like maybe 2 cents to get the sale, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
it's probably more than that because you got to pay somebody to run the email. Like, I've gone down the unit economics. The point is, phenomenally more cost effective. Also, like, it's like saying, I don't need to go to the grocery store because I have an avocado tree in my front yard. Well, if 1,000 people want to make guacamole, I can't service that need. It's not a scalable solution. It can scale, but it's not the solution to scale. So when your efficiency is maximized and you are wide open for more opportunity, that's where we have the profitable scaling margin, which is like one of the shout out to Disruptor School, where, disruptorschool.com, we're setting up, I think it's a new course that's available out there. The PSM, profitable scaling margin, talks about what is the lifetime value divided by the sum of CPA and COGS of that cash flow. If you're exceptionally good.
I said 4PI earlier. That's what I meant to say was PSM.
PSM, gotcha. Yeah, no worries. And by the way, for those who don't know, PSM is lifetime value divided by the sum of CPA and COGS and the frequency of purchase. That is the metric that actually measures whether or not you can spend more money. ROAS doesn't. MER doesn't. Those contribution margin doesn't. Those are not actionable numbers. These are subjective views of some version of your financial situation, but it doesn't say how much more can I spend and where. Profitable scaling margin, on the other hand, will say, in this case, if I'm getting sales in my email, and ultimately my net cost is $2 a sale, and I could afford 15. Now I know how much more I could spend on ads because I have a percentage increase on my budget. And what would be my percentage increase at a total loss? If I have a total loss investment of X% and I'm still okay, to be fair, if I'm getting them at 2 and I can afford 15, I can 700X my ad cost and still be at a 14 when I could afford a 15. Now, probably I'll get some additional sales, so my CPA wouldn't be 14, it might be 4 or 5. In which case, I can still triple my budget. I could manage my ad account by how well my business model operates and what my allowable margin is with which to scale into at a profit, hence profitable scaling margin. So while it's infinitely cheaper to do it on email, what that really is doing is allowing you to not have to be first order profitable on paid media, because your blended CPA is ultimately saying, well, if I'm getting 30% of my sales from my email, I could lose 20 cents on the dollar on my Facebook ads and still profit on day one. So the purpose of blended CPA and PSM is to understand that mix. And the better you get at search and Amazon and organic TikTok shops and your email and stuff, the less effective Facebook has to be. And really, if you've already scaled your efficiency everywhere else, then you can scale your spend on the platform that is least efficient, but designed to amplify the opportunity everything else gets. And that's really the purpose of Facebook. Facebook ads are never going to be as efficient as almost any other marketing channel. The purpose of them is to give those far more efficient channels more opportunity. So if you can make 20 sales a day from email organically, great. If you run your Facebook ads right, maybe you can get 200.
Right.
Then how efficient does your Facebook ad have to be if you're going to get 200 sales? That's what the PSM is all about, right? And then
I see.
that's how I manage businesses. That's how I've been able to take Under Outfit, you know, as part of the team from 50K a month to 5 million a month. Last month we did like 7 million, like in a space of like 2 years, or 310 Nutrition in 18 months and from 15 million to 100 million. Like, how am I able to do that over and over and over again? It's understanding your profitable scaling margin so you can understand where you are too efficient. Because at the end of the day, you can, you don't, like, I see people say, I need a 2x ROAS, for instance. Okay, 2x ROAS on 10 sales. Do you need a 2x if you get 100? Probably not. I'll take a smaller margin at a greater volume all day.
Right.
And so anybody flexing on MER or ROAS or anything like that, what they're completely forgetting is volume. And that's where PSM really starts to take things into account. Because you understand the unit value of each transaction. And if you have 3 transactions in a customer journey, or 1, if you have 10 of them, or 2, and as your LTV goes up because your volume of transactions goes up, or you improve the AOV of the first purchase, or any other thing that happens, you have known variables, and all you have to do is say, is this enough for me to spend more money? And ultimately, solving your Facebook ad account comes down to, and scaling your business comes down to, is my business model good enough that my current blended CPA is below allowable? If the answer to that question is yes, spend more money.
Right.
I love
You
to
get
say,
that answer with PSM.
yeah, and that's with PSM. So for instance, 5% a day, 3 times a week will 2x your budget every month. Doing that for a year will 37x your daily budget. All you have to do is make sure that your blended CPA is 6% better than your allowable, and then you can have a 5% increase at a total loss, effectively infinitely. So all you need to do in your business is figure out all of those more effective marketing channels and that future cash flow and the LTV and the AOV and all of those things so that you are ahead of the allowable CPA and your PSM is above target. And if it is, you can spend more money. And that really comes down to the ultimate question of marketers. Performance marketers will try to deliver you the best result today, regardless of customer journey and attribution and all sorts of other things. Growth marketers will look to see what is the most sustainable way of increasing the volume of profit. And performance marketers will get fired every time somebody else is willing to do the same bad job for cheaper. Growth marketers get offered pieces of the business.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. I had a conversation with the guy Chase from the Facebook Ads MBA program. You know, 6 months ago, he was like struggling. He was worried, like, you know, he had customers, a couple thousand here, there. And like every time he was good at it and he was scaling up because he's making a percentage of ad spend, all of this stuff, like somebody would come in and basically do the exact same work for cheaper. And he spent like years basically worrying that at any point in time, any kid willing to hustle and make less money would put him out of business. Now he's deciding which profit sharing opportunities to take because he's irreplaceable, because he's a growth marketer, not a performance marketer. And that's the difference between ROAS and MER and the contribution margin and all of that stuff, which there is value to it. I'm not saying it's completely random number. It's just, it's not actionable data. And if it's not actionable data, then I don't give a fuck as the person who's required to take action. And some of those numbers are also just total make-believe. Like, I do think that like measuring your ROAS is the way most people do of like this ad spend versus revenue is like trying to measure the weight of the color purple or like find the square root of the dream of a butterfly. It's a bad measurement of a thing that doesn't exist. Like your ad spend today isn't the reason for your revenue today. If you stop spending money today, you still make money tomorrow. So ROAS is basically bullshit. There's a whole, we can go down that rabbit hole one day, whenever, but like the customer journey is decades long. You're not the only player in the market. And if you stop spending money today, you still make sales. So the revenue today wasn't just from the ad spend today. It's from an ad spend yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 5 months ago, other customers, other markets, other advertising efforts, the things you're doing organically. One person bought from you talking to somebody else. There's no way to say this ad today is the reason this thing happened. It's just, it's what inbound call employee answered the phone. It's looking at the person working the cash register as the reason the sale happened. And that's kind of bullshit. Now that's hyperbolic. Obviously it has some help, but like people go to Trader Joe's because they're nice. Right? Like, and there's other reasons too, but like, there's a million things to go into just the person taking your money. But yeah, so hopefully that's a very long-winded but in-depth answer to your question.
No, that was really good. And then just really last on PSM, one thing that I did not understand from the video that you put out, which was within the calculation, the CPA, is that blended or new customer acquisition?
That's CPA. I don't care about new customer acquisition.
Okay, so it's just blended acquisition overall.
It's how much does it cost to acquire a transaction?
Transaction, got it.
Which is simple.
Okay.
Total ad spend divided by total transactions. Done. It's like people trying to figure out, they get a expensive software to figure out their LTV. I can tell you your LTV. Total revenue divided by customers. Done.
Yeah, so that's another one I don't understand, because I was actually racking my brain on this last month, was like, because I've tried doing that, and the thing is, when you do that and then compare it to data, let's say in lifetimely, you can get, you know what I mean, different points, and it's like, okay, well then,
well, because there's a difference between lifetime value and a cash flow projection. The question isn't what's your lifetime value. The question most people are asking isn't LTV. It's cash flow cycle. How long until somebody buys from me again? Or over a certain period of time, how often is somebody going to buy from me? Now, that's a very different conversation. If you want to do a PSM on a 90-day cash flow cycle, okay. Then it's revenue after 90 days of purchase. That's not how much money somebody gives you. And every business is different. I'd say the number one way of looking at it is, how long until the second sale? Just build off of that. If you can take your second sale from 120 days to 90, significant change in the business. Also, like your best PSM, like you also have to look at the volume, right? Like your best ROAS might not make you nearly as much money, because when you bake in cost of goods, you bake in time flow. Like if you can get me a $60 return over the space of a year, but I can get you a $40 return in 30 days. One of those is going to allow me to reinvest in the growth of my business. The other one, I'm waiting for somebody to hopefully do something, because odds are I'm looking at some time window. And do we really think our business is going to operate anywhere close to the way it does a year from now? Fuck no. So using really bad data to make really bad projections to make less money over a longer period of time. Or you can look at PSM and have extreme confidence down to the unit value per transaction of what your revenue is. And then it's like, well, if I get 10 times more transactions, I can make 8% less on each one. So whatever that math looks like. And then it becomes insanely easy to project results. And at that point, you also stop running your cost caps, your Advantage Plus, and all of that stuff, because those things just basically make all cash flow projections unknowable, because you don't know if you're going to spend $100 a day or 10,000. You don't know if it's going to be profitable or not. In this case, you don't care. You're just trying to maintain volume, because you know how much the average transaction is worth in an omni-channel fashion. And if you have a profit,
but does it, I was going to say, but even that LTV metric is like, that's what I was trying to say earlier, was like, if you look at, let's say in lifetimely over a 12-month span, what the accumulated revenue is per customer, versus the equation that you were talking about, which is all revenue divided by customers, or the other way around.
I mean, I'm just saying that's a simple way of figuring out LTV. Yeah. That like when I'm using PSM actionably, I'm doing PSM by offer. What was the first transaction in the customer journey? Each customer journey is going to be different based on the cohort of the transaction they have with the business the first time. Yeah, we can open up a can of worms. I can talk about this for like hours and hours and hours. Like that's what the PSM thing is all about. So like if you're interested in that, like you can check out the PSM course on that. And like I literally break down several customer journeys and like the cash flow, and I pull out my doc and I literally do all the math and walk my way through it. You can check that stuff out. Not here to sell, just like the answers to questions you haven't asked me yet are addressed, and we can talk about that another time. Yeah, cool.
Cool.
I'm currently doing an update on stuff right now. I think my buddy Albert is like DMing me on Slack. So like, if it's not there today, it'll be there tonight. But we're putting up a brand new marketplace of courses and SOPs.
Awesome.
So it'll be very cool. And I think we're trying to, right now we're putting up a buy two, get one free offer. And so we had to do some rebuilding, but now if you buy if you buy two SOPs, you get a third one. I'm trying to make it more valuable, but it also, while me doing this means I'm not hands on wheel doing that. And oh, well, you know, life is what it is. All right, cool, man.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, absolutely.
See ya. Bye. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, Chrissy, we're back to you again. If you're here, no, I think maybe you're gone. Okay, so Albert says, or maybe it's Albert. I don't know if it's Albert or Albert. 322, transforming time business. Thank you, bro. All right, we got Han. Okay, Han is gone. Brent, is Brent here? Brent. Oh, here we go. Wait a minute. Han, you're here. My bad. Okay, here we go. Han, Brent will come to you next. Han's here. Hey, Han. Did I say that right? Again, like ignorant white dude from like the suburbs in America. So if I get your name wrong, I apologize.
No worry, no worry. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it so much. So I have a question. So I have a skincare company and we have a lot of success on Google.
Sure.
It's a product that people search for, but we really struggle to get Facebook ads to work. And I think one of the big problem I suspect is that we're just not good at creatives. So we're trying to like do a lot of testing with like Facebook ads creative, but our product is about $200. And the lifetime value is about $400. So we know that we can spend like, you know, in the $200 in CPA. And it does cost that much for us to get sales. Yeah, so my biggest problem is like, how can we test like so quickly? Like, how can we read the early signals like CPC, CTR, etc. To know if a creative is a success or a fail?
Yeah.
And then my second question is like multi-channel attribution, because we run so much on Google. 90% of our ads are on Google. When we run Facebook, we start to see like the overlapping, especially with Google, like taking up like the lower funnel. So that is another problem that we have.
Oh, I'd say that's not a problem at all. I want to rephrase the entire thing you said.
Okay, great.
Number one, CTR and CPC has nothing to do with success and failure of your ads.
Okay.
I actually want to lower CTR. Here's why. CTR is a math equation, right? So whenever somebody gives you a fraction or a ratio, it's because they're trying to lie to you. So let me break it down. CTR is impressions divided by clicks, right? Or click divided by impressions.
Right.
If I get more impressions, my CTR is lower. If my ad costs $20 to send to people and I get 10 clicks for 1,000 impressions, okay. What if my ad costs $10 on a CPM basis and I get 13 clicks for 2,000 impressions? Same investment. One of them got me 30% more traffic. CTR is worse. It's a better ad. It's driving me more volume for people that want to see my ad more. So a high CTR is honestly a bit of a red flag. Like anytime I see a CTR over like 2 or 3, I'm like, this ad's probably really bad. Or it's sitting really low in the funnel, which is also okay. But remember, it's a fraction. So Facebook is a meritocracy. Spend is earned. CPM is based on whether people like your content. If people like your content, the impression count will go up faster than the click count will, meaning your CTR will go down. But that's not a bad thing at all. As we just said, as the example we just gave, one of those ads has a 30% higher volume of traffic. of people who are more interested in your content, but the CTR is exceptionally worse. So it's something to think about, right? Like 2,000 divided by 13, not as, or sorry, 13 divided by 2,000, worse than 10 divided by 1,000. Point of that being, that's one point. There's no way to know early on signals other than, is it earning spend? And if it earns spend, what happens to my blended CPA in my business? You said it cost me $200 to make a sale on Facebook. I don't think that's true. I think when you spend $200, you probably get a few more sales on Google.
Right. We look
So
at
the question
blended as
is,
well.
yeah,
But
which is,
how do we know which part of my I'm wasting money?
yeah, you don't. And
Okay.
it doesn't matter. What matters is, what is your blended cost per acquisition? Blended CPA is what is the truth. Because ultimately, if you need your cost to be at a 35 and your Google's coming in at a 20 and your Facebook's coming in at a 200, you're like, wow, Facebook sucks. If I'm spending money at a 200 on Facebook and my Google's coming in at a 25 and my blended is like a 30, I should spend more money on Facebook. I know it's a 200. What if it goes up to 300? What if that doubles my search volume and sales? Great. All I've done is make more money and make it easier. All I've done is spend money on Facebook so that my Google search has more opportunity. And the more people that buy from me, the more people that are likely to buy again, the more my emails are going to work. Odds are running bad Facebook ads is actually really good for your business. Facebook is the least efficient channel in your marketing funnel, right? Attribution as a concept is a complete fallacy. Like, it's a lie. This ad gets credit for a sale is a sales pitch from 30 years ago of digital marketing companies trying to take credit for results. I learned how to run marketing at high scale from a woman. Her name is Marina Randolph. She is brilliant. She could spend $100 million a year on television with a stopwatch because her attribution was 5 minutes after the infomercial aired. She could spend $100 million for Guthrie Rinker with no pixel. You don't need attribution to make good money. Attribution, honestly, generally helps people make dumber decisions. So the reason that we care about attribution is, I want the platform to know that I got a sale. I want it to know it did a good job or a bad job. The more information I can give to the platform, the better it's going to do at making better decisions more often. So I'll give it a 7-day click, 1-day view, but when I'm measuring my results, I'm measuring against how well, when I run Facebook ads, what happens to my Amazon and my search volume on Google or Bing. You should probably be running some Bing in there too, because that's just free money. Not nearly the same scale as Google, but the point of this all is, if you are in your business profitable and Facebook is at 200 and Google's at 20, you're not spending enough. I mean, maybe you're maxed out, but the point is, look at the average cost per transaction and bake into that your email and repeat customers. Because also, like, the better you get at getting more people to buy a second and third time, the less efficient your Facebook has to be. Right? If 5% of my sales are repeat customers, my Facebook needs to be way more efficient than if 50% of my sales are from repeat customers, because my blended CPA is going to be lower. So look at Facebook as an amplification of the rest of your business model, not as Facebook isn't as good as Google. Because I'm gonna read the tea leaves for you. It's never going to be as good as Google. If it is, your Google is terrible. But yeah, does that help? And
Yes,
like, yeah,
have a
that's a
follow-up.
lot of what we get into in the MBA program, and there's a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to, like, that's what, when you're measuring a big business, that's what it really looks like. And I'll say this, I've been in very large companies as like their like growth person, and they brought in some outside team to touch on multi-touch attribution. I've seen installations of custom software that cost $100,000 a month. Let me tell you the attribution model they use, because it's really simple. Whatever makes everybody who's a vice president of that company not get fired. That's it. It's an unknowable question with an unactionable answer. So all that you care about is, to get back to your, does my creative work or not? When this ad earns spend, what happens to my bottom line? If this Facebook ad earns a ton of spend, does my blended CPA go up or down? If it goes up, it's a bad ad. If it goes down, it's a good ad. If your Facebook is coming in at 200 and this new Facebook ad is coming in at a 50 and your blended CPA goes from 30 to 45, it's a terrible ad. I don't care that it's 4 times better than everything else. It's bad for you.
I have a question. So that's supposedly if I test only one creative, but if I have like, say 100 creative, I feel like I have to choose some to put in, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do I choose between like the 100 that I have?
What worked? Like, here's the thing. I'll put it this way. Yeah, you brought up a great point. If you want to test 100 creatives, what you're doing is saying, I would rather get a lot of really low value data than be able to make a decision with confidence. More ads is a bad thing.
Interesting.
The only businesses that really thrive on more ads, and they're very popular, which is why everybody's buying into it, are ones that don't need Facebook to be the primary source of attention. And I'll give 2 examples of great businesses I mentioned before, but my buddy Ash and Ron at Obvi, they're crushing. They launch a ton of ads all the time. They're also on the store at Costco and Walmart and GNC. Their ads aren't their market share. They have a Facebook group of, I think, like 50,000 women, 100,000 women. Facebook ads aren't where they get their attention. Facebook ads can be fatigued and they're running a bunch of things because they're just trying to see what's going to be lucky enough to earn the sale today. And they're just going to spin up a bunch of more things because they can. Another one is Jones Road Beauty. And I mentioned them before. And they run a ton of creatives too. And it's because every time Cody's mom goes on to TikTok, it goes viral. Because she's Bobby Brown. She's the woman behind L'Oreal, who now doesn't have a compete. She has her non-compete clause is over, and she can build her own business because she stayed out of the market for 20 years. So when the woman that made L'Oreal big, it says, hey, I have my own thing, check it out. The Facebook ad doesn't need to get attention. It's just another person at the bottom of the funnel trying to get credit for the sale. So my point to that is, what works organically? What content earns a bunch of comments on your Instagram? What earns a ton of views on your TikTok? What content improves the conversion rate on your landing page? If your Facebook ad looked a lot like your landing page with the same image and the same text, conversion rate's probably gonna be really good. That's all you need to do. I think you need to stop treating Facebook in 2024 like it's Google Display in 2015. The problem is most people that are vocal and talk about all the great work they do don't think like that because they don't have a motive to, because they don't have to, or they sell services based on how well they can test 1,000 things. I don't. I tell you how, like, you can do it in like an hour a week. You should be spending the rest of your time getting that 400 to a 5. If your 400 goes to a 5, you don't need to launch a new ad. I had a guy that joined the MBA program last year. He took over a business as a media buyer in like March or so. He's like, the guy went from $17,000 in profit. He's seen a 400% increase, like over the last 3 months, and just this volume of revenue, not just profit margin, but volume of profit, volume, because the ads haven't changed. And so he's just been able to improve his conversion rate and his customer journey, which is where you make the money anyway. Stop trying to make the least efficient thing more efficient at the cost of all the more efficient things. The better your Facebook ads are, generally, they make you, if you have really good Facebook ads, it means your Google search doesn't spend as much and your emails are less effective. If you have a really good Facebook ad, it allows you to have more search volume and more email addresses. I don't need Facebook to be my number 1 salesperson. I need to let my number 1 salespeople be far better at their job. And if you're having trouble running 1,000 ads, you probably are also having trouble making your conversion rate on your website better, because you're attracting a million different types of people. How are you supposed to get better at what your landing page looks like if your ad changes every day? It's kind of impossible. So I think you just got to flip it the other way and you'll be good to go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
You're
it, yeah.
welcome. All right. Okay. I think we are running out of questions here. We got some more, but I'm gonna call it at where we're at right now. We got Samson, we got Cameron, and we got Jason. All right. After that, I gotta call it. I got a little daughter and I gotta take care of her, and I might get called into dad duty beforehand. So let's keep going. Samson, how can I help?
Hey Charlie, how are you? Big fan. I actually adopt your 3-2 method in my media buying, so learn a lot from that. So to give you some context, I used to work in a performance marketing agency, run ads, Facebook ads for people, and what I find is that because we are more on the lower side of the brand, so more startup-y brand, and when some of the brands already ran some ads, I'm able to kind of improve it and then scale on top of it. But when they are really beginning brands without much awareness, and when I'm trying to run ads, I don't see the results. And I know like you have to build more awareness first to improve the efficiency of the ads. So that's where my question came from. Which is paying money boosting organic posts. Like I heard those kind of theories out there. I'm still more like an amateur marketer, and
Sure.
I just want to hear what your thoughts and yeah.
No, I think it's I think a lot of people say never to do it. I think a lot of other people say it's the easiest hack in the world. I do it sometimes, depending where brand is. If you have organic content that feeds a funnel well, paying to get that viewed by more people is a great way of saying, like, I don't have my paid media funnel down, but I know if people see my Instagram, they buy. I know if people see my TikTok, they buy. One of the things I recommend people do in this use case is, especially if you're running Instagram. Hell, I'm doing it. You go to CT the Disruptor on Instagram. I'm doing it right now. Because I use ManyChat, a bot that basically says if you comment X, Y, or Z, it engages with you and gets you on a sales call or sells you something. So like if you go to any of my content on my Instagram account at CT the Disruptor and comment disrupt on anything, my bot will engage with you and see if you're a good fit. And if you are, it'll send you a link to sign up for a sales call for the Facebook Ads MBA program. In that way, when I know the content that's really engaging, I can pay a few bucks to make sure that that content is seen by more people. And I'm going to fill my funnel up far more effectively than trying to solve other problems. So like, I like it for smaller spots. I also do it for local businesses. I think it's very effective, especially if you don't have a pixelable event. Like my wife runs a Pilates studio. She's got a couple studios in LA. If somebody comes into her Pilates studio, signs up for a class, that's not like some Facebook pixel fired, right? But setting up some money behind a post that has ManyChat attached to it and somebody engaging with it, getting them to sign up for a first class for whatever, 35 bucks or whatever it is, like that's scalable. So with all that being said, I think there is a time and place for it. I think eventually you'll grow out of it, hopefully, but it's a great place to say, I know something works. I just want to try to do more of that. So ultimately I can get the bankroll to do something bigger, right? If I can't run conversion campaigns because I'll never leave the learning phase, let me just, if I know my organic works, this might be the bridge to get me to more conversion-based marketing.
Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I would run 100%. I would run engagement campaigns referencing the actual, like, go to the, like, use existing post, hit Instagram and just boost that. And hit that. I would do it inside the ads manager. I wouldn't hit boost post inside of Instagram. I would do it that way.
Is there a point where you are testing some newer, startup company that you would say, okay, I've tested this, and this just won't work? Like, at what point would you say this just couldn't work, and let's go back and do something about the business model and come back to this again? Like, at what point do you do that? No.
Yeah. It's hard to know, honestly. The number one thing I'll say is it's about cash flow. If I can afford to keep going, I will. If I don't have the money in the bank, doesn't matter what I think, I can't afford it. So I generally run those decisions by the bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Samson. Thanks for the question,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. All right. We got Cameron and we got Jason, and then we're going to wrap this up. Actually, Cameron's gone, I think. Jason, let's bring you on up. Is this Jason? Is this Cameron? Okay, there we go. All right, cool. Boom.
How are you, buddy?
Hey, Jason. Last question of the day. Nice to see you, buddy. How can I help?
We have a heavily subscription-focused business. Like over 50% of our revenue is like recurring monthly orders, and we're always debating on how to set like our ad spend goals, like what should be, like how much should we take into account, like what the recurring revenue is? Should we just focus on new customer ROAS, that kind of thing? We would focus on lifetime value. How should we determine what our goal should be to like scale an ad campaign or our ad spend?
Yeah, love it. I've definitely been in this space. I used to manage I was director of growth for a SaaS company that had like 5 million uniques a month. Like, I get the space, like I've been there, done that at different scales. But I know the pain, especially when you're trying to push in those spots. This is where I really look to PSM. And again, there's a course on disruptorschool.com on PSM. The point is, I want to know the unit value of a transaction. That's a really sticky number, especially in subscription heavy businesses. And the reason that matters to me is LTV is one thing. That's nice to know. But if I know that I have a lot of reoccurring transactions, if I have 100 sales and 80 of them are recurring, well, how much am I willing to invest knowing that that's sort of the standard operating procedure for my customer journey, right? That's the current status quo. And maybe it needs to be adjusted. Every month might be different. But what you get to is, how far out are you confident in that customer journey? How sticky is it, right? Like, if you know, hey, 80% of people stick around for 3 months, 80% of them stick around for 6 months, 20% of them stick around for like a year. Maybe I'm looking at a cash flow cycle around that 3 to 6 month mark before, like, maybe I want to make money by day 90. And after that, like, I'm a little nervous. Every business is going to be different, right? So the point is, figuring out that cash flow cycle that I'm comfortable with based on the projectable customer journeys that are occurring, especially in a recurring business model, will let me understand what the unit value per transaction is. So with a PSM, which is lifetime value divided by CPA plus COGS times like frequency of purchase. Let's say, for instance, my LTV is actually a 6-month cash flow cycle projection, and it's worth $200. Okay. Let's say my transaction CPA and COGS is like $40. And the average person buys, let's say, 2.5 times. 2.5 is like the average stickiness, right? If I know my average cash flow is 200 and the average person sticks around for 2.5, I know also some people stick around for longer. What that means is, based on my cost per acquisition of 200 divided by 40 times 2.5, which is 100, I know that basically every dollar I spend in marketing gets me $2 back in cash flow over that 6-month cycle. Is that okay? Now, depending on your business, that might be okay, that might not. How many employees do you have? What is your rent? What is the salary of everybody? Like, there's a million things to go into whether or not that's good or bad, right? Like 2x return might tank your business. I know some that needed 10 just to break even, and now other ones where like 1.2 is like, you know, they're popping champagne. Like everything is different, right? My point to that is, once I understand the value, volume, and cost, once I get down to the unit value of everything in my business, I'm able to understand, can I invest more or less? And it's not really about return. It's not about the marketing efficiencies. I mean, all those things are nice, like retroactive reports, but they don't tell you what to do next. What I'd want to know is, I could be spending 20% more to acquire each transaction on a blended ratio. And I'd still be profitable enough to be happy in my business. If that's the case, then I can increase my ad budget. And I would increase it. I'd start off wherever I have the best efficiency to see like, where does that break? And that might be search sitting at the bottom of the funnel that, you know, we've tripled Facebook ad budget, but haven't touched search in a year and a half. Like, well, if search is coming in at 3 and Facebook's coming in at 100, like maybe we spend it here, right? Whatever we can do to push that blended CPA down. And then that will ultimately tell us when that maximizes efficiency, and our landing page conversion rate is kind of sticky, and like we've gotten all that figured out and we're still profitable. We still have a PSM that is higher than allowable. We just move up the funnel, and eventually that gets to Facebook ad spend. And at that base, if I can afford, say, 50, and I'm coming in at a 15, if I were to triple my budget and see no additional sales, I'm still making $5 per transaction. Now, odds are I'm probably going to get some sales if I triple my Facebook budget. Odds are I'm going to see more organic traffic and more search volume. Like, I'm going to lift the entire marketing funnel. So that's why we use what we call a total loss investment. If I lose every penny of this, how much is okay to invest? Because odds are I won't lose every penny. And if I triple my budget and see no additional sales, but I get more sales volume, like how do I start to take advantage of that added volume of opportunity? And then you just, again, work at the bottom, work your way up until eventually like you're just not spending enough. And as long as you stay ahead, you can keep raising your budget. And you can do that, or you say, hey, my budget is maxed, in which case you work on making your dollars work harder and harder. And that's what I ended up doing at that company. We went from about 3,000 a day at a 60 CPL to about 50,000 a day at like a 12 CPL. We went from needing 2 months to be profitable on the customer journey to be making like $8 per transaction on day one. And that really happened because we basically stopped scaling volume of spend and started scaling the efficiency of the business model. Like we just didn't, we hit a spot where, you know, when you're getting 5 million uniques a month, like you just don't need to spend more money. It's just like, let's just reduce waste and make every dollar we spend more profitable. You know, and you get your acquisition costs, cut it down by 80%. We're just making a lot more money per transaction, right? And then we worked on the business model. People just stuck around longer. Our marketing budget was basically fixed, and profit just went up every month, which was excellent. I mean, we had a 7-figure profit target for paid social on a monthly basis. That was a wild time. It was right before COVID, and basically when COVID happened, they asked me to come back to my office, and I was like, well, if you can have your laptop back, I'll take my severance and my, my profit sharing, and see ya. Because Disruptor School was taking off, and the MBA program was really popular at that time, and that was kind of just like the last real big day job I had. But like that's how I would look at it. At the end of the day, everything in business comes down to unit value. And if it's, even when you go to the grocery store, you'll notice that things have the unit value per ounce or per pound. In your business, it's unit value per transaction. I don't care where it comes from. Because honestly, if I get substantially better at my churn rate and go from 20% of people bail to only 5%, I'll pay way more to acquire new sales. And I can because my profitability per transaction is higher once they're in my business model. So I can afford to be far less profitable on acquiring the people because then my cash flow cycle is more net positive. So that's ultimately what it comes down to, is understanding all of those numbers. And that's why like PSM has functionally changed everything for people that look into it. And really it's just me teaching people how to manage their Facebook ads like an investment banker looking at your business. Like if you were to pay somebody big money to come in and sell your business, they're going to rip everything apart. They're going to break down to the unit value of every single person, every single hour, every single unit in the business. If you do it, you don't have to lose all the money to pay somebody else to fire you. You could just make more money. And I learned that as a very hard lesson from Deloitte pulling out of a $98 million deal. Learned a lot of lessons from that one. I wasn't the CEO. I was like head of growth at the time, but like, I just started looking at my business by like, what would Deloitte do? And we did, and we wildly grew the business without them. And oh well, everybody's happy now, except for probably the guy at Deloitte that wasted 6 months of his life, but he was doing other things too. So like, you know, whatever. He probably had 5 deals on the deal. It's not my job to care about him. That was his job. But like, let's look at our business like people who look at businesses being their business. And that ultimately is what matters. Like if you look at any successful market, that's the way they look at it. Like if you look at retail, they don't look at profit per product. They look at unit value per square foot, right? Like those things matter. So understand your inventory. And in this case, your inventory is a transaction. How much does it cost? What is it worth? The more profit you make, or the more volume of it you have, your unit economics change. And if you start to look at it that way, you'll probably figure out what's broken so that you can spend more money. And that's all I really care about is like, how do I just, I don't even do it anymore. I just automate the budgets. But like, how do I just make it so that it says yes more often than no? Like my golden rule with businesses, I mean, obviously it changes in every one, but like my starting place is, can I spend 5% more 3 times a week? Can I double my business every month? All I have to do is say yes more often than no. And that's where, you know, brands have taken from 15 to 100 or 50K a month to 5 million. Like it only takes a year or two once you figure this stuff out. Because doubling yourself every month is a 37x growth. Most businesses don't have the cash flow or manpower, like human resources alone to handle that kind of growth. Make it the HR department's problem. That's my view. Make everything else everybody else's problem by just spending more and then automating the entire fucking thing. That's what I like to do. Like that's the like, as house trying to just like solve the puzzle. I don't care if the person wins, dies, or whatever. Like I just want to solve that puzzle. And as soon as I do, all the other problems are somebody else, and I'll move on to the next thing. But like that's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Value, volume, and cost of your transactions to break down your profitable scaling margin to understand, can I spend more, yes or no? And if the answer is no, you probably knew it was no a week or 2 before it happened. And you've been probably working for the last 7 to 10 days to make that no a yes before it occurs. That's where you're in a great space. And when that happens, your Facebook ads, you don't touch them really. You've automated your accounts. Like that's what it's all about, because a good business will scale your Facebook ad account. A Facebook ad account cannot scale a bad business. So that's my thesis statement on that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you. All right. That is it. I'm gonna go hang out with my daughter. It is daddy time on Friday. So thank you all so very much. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.